Trevor Noah became host of The Daily Show last fall, just as the 2016 election campaign began to heat up. He delivered a nightly satirical take throughout the race, and nearly a week after the results, the comedian is not shy about how he's trying to cope with the outcome.
If this morning you finally woke up from a coma, well, you might want to go back. This entire result is sort of like Trump's hair. I know it's real, but my mind can't accept it.
Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you, sir.
That is one hell of a performance, especially by President Obama, which means at least one black person should get nominated for an Oscar this year.
Okay, as the story of the election unfolds, Noah's opening up about his own past. In his new book, it's called Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood. Trevor describes growing up during the twilight of apartheid and the difficult years that followed. Welcome back to the table, Trevor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here.
Can I just start with the title of the book, Born a Crime? I read it, I got choked up a couple of times because I knew nothing about your background other than he's South African, I've been there, I think it's a beautiful country, but wow. Born a crime means that when you were born, you were illegal because your dad is white, your mother is black, and they were not supposed to get together. So you spent a lot of your childhood hidden.
I did. I spent a lot of my time hidden from the authorities. You know, my grandmother hid me, my mother hid me. We had to hide our family, in essence. You know, I think one of the greatest gifts my parents gave me, though, was the fact that they didn't let me know why we were being hidden. So as a child, that was the only world I knew. I just knew that, you know, we were indoors a lot. I knew that my dad would walk on the other side of the road when we'd go outside. I knew that my mom would sometimes dress up like a maid, which I just thought was her style of dress at the time. So I didn't know that we were being hidden from the authorities in the country that we were growing up in. I didn't know at the time that my very existence was against the law.
And then you didn't fit with the black community, you said, and you didn't fit with the white community either.
Well, I think I didn't fit in terms of what the government wanted me to fit, where they wanted me to be. But I was really lucky in that growing up in an African community, I was welcomed. I grew up as a young black man. I grew up as an African man. And so I felt completely at home. But I mean, my country was one where we were divided into race. So even my mother and I were considered two completely different races and were given different liberties according to the law.
So how did it shape you?
I think it shaped me because it made me an outsider. It kept me as an outsider, you know, and that's one of the greatest gifts that I only came to appreciate later on in life. And that is when you're an outsider, you're always working to see different people's points of view because the world is never yours. You know, you don't exist in a space where you ever see yourself as the be-all and end-all. And that was one of the greatest gifts I got, which I didn't appreciate for most of my life, and now I see as a strength.
You mean when you look back and think about it?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. One of the nicest things about this book, and the Washington Post reporter described it this way, is that it's really a love letter to your mother.
It really is.
Yeah.
Which I didn't intend. I won't lie, I thought I was the hero of my story. I think we all do. You know, and when I wrote the book, I was like, I'm a hero, this is my life, this is what I've done. And I wrote all of these stories from my childhood, and once I coalesced all of them, I read through it and I went, wow, my mom is an incredible woman, you know. Single women are incredible women. I mean, South Africa is a nation that, because of the laws and because of the police that had taken away so many black men, we're a nation that was raised by women.
But you described your mom as a Tom and Jerry relationship, a cop and a criminal relationship. You said, she taught me how to be a man, but she didn't teach me how to be a boy.
Yeah, my mom was always after me.
She was no joke.
But I'm not gonna lie, I was a terror child. Please don't take that like I was a...
She called you a problem child and stubborn.
I genuinely was. Yeah. I was one of the naughtiest children that I know of. A house burned down. A house burned down because of me. Yes. I did not burn the house down, but I may have been involved in an incident where a house was burned down.
Yeah. Look at how cute he is. Yeah.
That is...
You've had an interesting perch in America to sit and watch a political campaign.
Yes.
We have now seen an election and looking at a new president. How do you see it? And what is your own sense of how we should react to Donald Trump?
Well, the biggest thing I've seen is America is not as immune to the ills of the world as it thought it was. You know, I think a lot of the world is disappointed in America because America is that beacon, is that lighthouse, you know, a bastion of democracy. And when you look at what happened during the election, I think it's sad that we're now living in a place where we're normalizing and moving on so quickly from two glaring truths that were part of what happened in the election. I acknowledge a white working class. That is something we can talk about. But we cannot deny that many of Donald Trump's supporters were earning large amounts of money. They're doing great for themselves. But there are people who put two things above everything else, and that is whiteness, and then that is also sex. And misogyny is a, you know, people talk about the glass ceiling, but what you don't realize is you can't see it because it's see-through. And misogyny has very quickly gone out of the conversation, where even as a man, I have to come to grips with the facts that it is a tough world to be in when there is this invisible monster that keeps you down.
They have a term in terms of racism called implicit bias.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you see that many people, Hillary faced it throughout her life, you know, and I keep trying to think of that. And unfortunately, I have to use a metric in my head where I say, if she were a man. And the fact that I even have to say that means that there is a problem.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say, if she were a man, how would I see her? Would, you know, her achievements, would they not pale, you know, would her shortcomings not pale in comparison to those achievements? But the truth is, we do live in this world, and until we work on acknowledging it more, we will never, we'll never find the answers.
You make the point also, as you point that out, that we've got to understand what our values are and be true to our values.
Definitely.
Yet at the same time, you say we ought to give Donald Trump a chance.
Well, you have to give him a chance because the president. I'm not saying I would like to give him a chance. You have to. When the person is the president, the person is the president.
And the people have spoken.
Yeah,
In
well,
your book-
19% of the people have spoken,
Yeah.
which is strange that most
the
of America
people have
doesn't
spoken.
feel the need to vote.
All right. When you were a little kid, you dreamed of having a driveway. I'm thinking you have bigger dreams now.
Well, I still dream of having a driveway because in New York you can't get any
That
space.
is true. That is true.
Trevor Noah, continued success. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much again.
And Born a Crime is on sale tomorrow.